If you're actively seeking ways to build your mental toughness, navigate life transitions with grace, or simply find inspiration to keep moving forward, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking. I am Kat with my co-host Yvette, and today we are talking about the rat race, how much it sucks, how much we're all over it, and how to get out of it.
Yeah. And we may even talk a little bit on career transition and navigating career transition. We'll see where the conversation goes. Absolutely. Yeah. So the rat race. God, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Or not. Who likes commuting?
No.
Yeah.
The average commute, I think, is about 40 minutes, isn't it? 40 minutes drive, usually in traffic.
I would say, 45 to an hour, depending on which city you're in. Some places are a little bit longer. But, and if there's a traffic jam or there's an accident, well, say goodbye to your morning.
Yeah. The joys. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, we have a lot of it's been fascinating as an English person moving to Australia and watching Australia kind of build, because you don't get to see this so much in Europe and things, obviously, where you would know also, because the place is already built up, so people are buying homes that are already there. In Australia, we tend to build, around large city centres, which is where all the work is, and then it just kind of continues to go out and out and out. It's not. I don't think it's a very good plan, really.
No, I think they're starting to look into the building little micro cities within the suburbs, but we're a bit behind the eight ball with that. So the commute is definitely a lot longer. But it's not just the commute. I think there's also the element of you just feel stuck.
Oh, yeah, you've got bills to pay.
Whole, the 9 to 5 thing. I mean, it may not, if some people it could be 8 to 4, but the 8-hour work day or whatever, 40-hour work week. And when you've been doing it for years and years and years, you just get to a point where you're just like, besides the fact that I'm finding myself on the hamster wheel, and the reason why I'm doing this is because, I have a mortgage and I've got to pay for the kids, or, be able to pay to even go to work, put petrol in the car for fun things I want to do, holidays, whatever. You've got to make a living.
That's it.
And you kind of just feel like it's soul destroying, that it's just pulling, pulling every energy out of you, and it doesn't have that spark. Now, there are some people out there who are lucky enough to actually be in a job that they absolutely love, and goes up to them, because that takes quite a bit of planning. It's not something that just happens. It does take a bit of planning. And I know for myself, like when I was in the corporate arena, it really did feel soul-sucking. Even though I was pursuing a particular career and I was fairly good at what I was doing, I was just there was no joy in it anymore.
No.
You're doing it because you're good at it and you've got the confidence in it, but the joy's gone out of the room. And then you start looking at it going, well, how many times do I need to reinvent myself in a career to find something that I really like, especially in the corporate arena? Or do I just need to find something that just makes my heart sing, no matter what that looks like? And I think that's the hard struggle, isn't it? It's going.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people say, you want to find a job that makes your heart sing. Oh, bless you. No one finds that. No one finds that. That's what people. I've literally had someone say to me, I was a probation parole officer in New South Wales, loved it, moved down to Tasmania, took on the same role, completely different culture, totally different. And when I said I was leaving, I remember one of the girls said to me, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. I'm going to look for something else and go somewhere else that's just a better place to work. And she said, there are no better places to work. They're all the same. And that is a lie. But sometimes it takes you a little bit to find that. But I think that is a big thing that holds people stuck, let's be honest, is fear. Because like you said, we have got to fear and the comfort and comfortability. You're comfortable. You might hate the rat race. You might get in your car every morning and go, oh, fuck this. But you know what you're doing. You can go on autopilot. You can go and do your work. You've got, everyone says, oh, better the devil you know, don't they? That's how people look at it.
But that's exactly right. It's the autopilot, isn't it? You don't wake up in the morning going, yeah, I'm going to jump out of bed and I'm going to hit the shower and I'm really excited about what my day's going to bring.
No,
You
there's
tend
no
to go,
time.
okay, I've got to drag myself out of bed. I've got to go have the shower. I've got to put on a mask and pretend that I'm actually really enjoying what I'm doing. And if anybody says to me, how are you going? You go, yeah, really good, thanks.
So great. I love this place. It's so awesome. Yes, my
when
work
really you're
persona
just
loves
going,
you.
I hate fucking being here and this is the last place I really want to be. And there's 9 or 10 other things I could think of doing, but I can't because they're not going to pay the bills.
I have made the mistake of saying that a couple of times, actually.
It's funny, isn't it, though? But and then we do try and find things that bring a little bit of happiness to it, and it may for 6 months or 8 months, and then it turns into a little bit of a little bit of the same old.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. When you're not actually doing what does make your heart sing, it's a drag. It's a total drag.
People really don't stop and ever ask themselves. And I've never heard at university, what makes your heart sing? People just don't. They don't have that conversation with themselves. They go,
No.
now, lad, you just have to go to work and eat your.
Because we're taught to work for other people. We're not even taught to be entrepreneurs. We're actually taught in schools to work for other people.
Yes, of course we are, because that's what the majority of us will end up doing. But I mean, and becoming an entrepreneur, half the battle is, figuring out what you're going to do and working out your business and getting the financial side and all of the planning done. And the other half of it is actually overcoming the massive leap from your perceived security blanket of work, where you've got your regular income coming in, into the great unknown, where honestly, sometimes in business, you are in feast or famine. It does work that way. But it just means more planning, and you've perhaps got to figure out a way to make more money.
Yeah, exactly. And, before you kick off that entrepreneurial path, like go along that path, is to make sure you've got some of that savings behind you so you can support yourself whilst you're building your business. Rather than just going slice, go, and then within a month's time you go, oh my God, and you're in panic stations. Because you've got to really set yourself up for success. And in order to set yourself up for success, you've got to do a bit of planning up front. And that can sometimes also, if that's the path that you want to take, is you kind of go, well, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to work for myself. I want to get out of the rat race and really, really do my thing. Whatever that is that you want to do some planning around it. So it could be that you end up staying in the job for another 12 months or another 2 years as you build up that equity behind you, so you can then pursue that business, and you can still build that business that you're looking at part-time, behind the scenes, and then get it to a point that it replaces your current income, or it's close to it, that you can survive off of it, and you can go into it full-time. So it's really putting some strategy behind it and thinking about what that looks like and planning it. Sometimes you don't have that choice. Sometimes you get made redundant, or you just get told that that's it. We don't have a role for you anymore. And you sit there going, and I've got to get out there, and I've now got to walk the pavement, or really it's more of the digital stuff these days of getting out there and seeing if you can find another job. And what are you doing when you're doing that? Are you also looking at building your skill set? Developing a new skill set. Look at a totally different career path.
What direction is your skill set going? Because that's always been a big question for me. Like, there's a lot of different courses and different things you can do, and then you've really got to ask yourself, is that something that I would enjoy, that I would actually enjoy doing as a role? Or is it just, and I know I've done jobs and I've taken roles because I just needed the money. I think we all have.
I think we've all been there. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is, people don't necessarily leave jobs. They leave management.
They leave environments and management.
They leave environments. So, and that can be something. You can have an amazing career and you can do brilliantly. Well, I know this has happened to you, where you were really good at your job, you really settled, you knew what you were doing with your consulting, and then you went and worked for people, and the company changed hands, and boom, you just get a whole different culture in there, and suddenly you're in a place that you really don't want to be because it just doesn't match.
Exactly. And it was funny because even after that, it seemed to be every role that I went into after that kept being the same thing. It was just wasn't working out. And then that got me to go, well, okay.
Why?
why is this not working out? Why do I need to do something differently? Or is it because I actually really don't want to be here anymore? And this could be, you know, the universe's way of saying to me, start looking for something else.
Your energy
start doing what you've always wanted to do. And I know, like, if I reflect on that, I had always wanted to be in business for myself. And I've dabbled in things on and off throughout my life, but I've always wanted to really be successful at business and be in business full time for myself. And I would take, you know, whatever I'd learned from previous businesses, and I'd actually take them into my corporate career and try to utilize them in there. But you couldn't really do it because people, you know, weren't as strategic with their thinking or whatever the case may be. And you just go, okay, whatever. But what I did find was that I found that every time I went back into the corporate world, I kept feeling as if I was putting my desire to be an entrepreneur or be in business for myself on the shelf. I kept putting it back on the shelf, and then I had to take it off the shelf and dust it and get going again. And then I hit a point where I just went, if I don't actually really pull my finger out and really go full 100% running my own business and working for myself 100%, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of whether it, you know, it fails or if it works or what have you. Because, you know, getting closer in my age, I'm now in my mid-50s, you start to think about, you know, it's, you know, you're going to move out of the corporate world. You're going to get pushed out eventually anyway, but also from the perspective of life. And I went, well, I don't want to be on my deathbed and look back on my life and go, I regret that I actually never, ever really followed through with my entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's interesting because one of the biggest things is that, and so I started out in the workforce, hated working for other people, and then created my own business and worked for myself for 15 years. And then recently went back into the workforce for the last 6 years. And the contrast between the mindset that you have to cultivate to be an entrepreneur, which comes naturally to me, you've got to go, all right, things are fucking up. Don't worry about it. Step aside. I'll deal with it. And you've just got to do that. And that's what if you don't do that, you'll fall over on your ass. So you can't sit there and stick your head in the sand or watch everything falling apart because you're the one that's got to catch it all. You know, when it comes to working for other people, if you're working in an organization which is large and you're a very small cog in a very large wheel, you have to sit back on your hands. This is the hardest thing I found, and watch what I could see was going to happen, going, oh, look, it's all going to fall apart. Did you know it's all going to fall apart? And everyone's like, what would you fucking know? And then you sit back and watch while it all falls apart, and you're not allowed to do anything about it. And then once it's fallen apart, the powers that be go, that's okay. You know, we'll find the good in this. We'll come back from this. Or, no, it didn't fall apart. It's fine. And you just think, Jesus Christ, like, wake up. It always astounds me, just the rivers of money that are going out the door to fund, I think, government departments, NGOs, you know, most organizations where people aren't really present. They don't really give a rat's, because that's the trade-off, isn't it? That if you're doing the rat race every day, going to a job you hate, you're just there for the money, you're not putting in a big effort.
Well, and I think that's what makes it soul destroying, isn't it? Because it's not really aligning with your values. I mean, there may be aspects of it that are aligning with your values, but overall, the whole thing as an organization or the role itself within the organization just does not align with your values. And that's where it can really be soul destroying, because and you can lose your confidence too, because if you stay within that comfort zone and within that type of environment, you will start to lose your confidence. It's like being in a, domestic violence or toxic relationship. It's exactly the same thing. You, after a while,
this is all you're worth. This is all you're worth. You hear that enough, and you get that implicated towards you. You'll never do anything better. This is all you're worth, and you'd better not leave and go and get yourself an entrepreneurial, role and create your own business, because that could fail. At least here you've got a paycheck every week, and at least here you're safe. Yeah. Wow.
And I think that's where the monkey mind will start to play out as well, because you'll go, oh, but here I am getting paid, and it's a regular paycheck. I know that it's definitely going to come in. And as you mentioned earlier on, being an entrepreneur, you can, it's basically ebbs and flows. And sometimes you're in a bit of cash, and other times you're not. But that's a part of it. The idea is to get to a point where that cash is constant, and always in the early growing phase, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But it's realizing, being realistic with yourself and understanding that that's exactly what it's going to look like when you step into it. Don't fool yourself and think that you're going to make millions tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. You've got to build up to it, you know. But again, it's so easy to go, well, my fear of failure or my self-doubt, you know, the imposter syndrome, all of those types of things that'll come in and go, well, why do I think I'm going to do this? Or, you know, what if this happens? You know, all of the what if scenarios, and we create those stories, and we then start to give these stories even more depth when really they haven't even existed.
We ask the wrong questions, don't we?
We do. We definitely do. And you are the creator of your own life. So you can actually create whatever the hell it is that you want to create in your life. So it's just believing in yourself. And that sounds really easy when we say believe in yourself, but it takes a bit of effort. And
it does.
The idea, before you do any form of transition, even if you're looking at transitioning into a totally different career, is to set yourself up by reskilling yourself. Set yourself up, have a look and go, what am I really, really good at? Where do I need improvement in? What do I need to skill myself up in so I'm ready to actually transition into that particular area? And what strategy do I need to put in place to ensure
that really
I succeed?
Something that makes my heart sing. So and I'll give you an example of that, because we do talk in abstracts a bit. So I noticed that when I first started working for other people, I went to uni and studied criminology, and and psychology. I wanted to be involved in that sort of side of things. For whatever reason, it fascinated me. Then when I started working, I worked in like an NDIS space to start off with. I didn't like that. Then I liked helping people, but I didn't like working in that system. Then I got into criminal justice, and I loved it. I loved seeing the problems people were facing, which a lot of the time were in their head, even though their circumstances were awful. But, you know, you'd see people that have been raised by chaotic persons that couldn't, you know, get their lives together. You'd see it. They'd turn to crime, you know, time and time again. And it was really interesting. It was all about eliciting behavior change through having conversations and giving support, sometimes challenging, sometimes supporting, whatever they needed to help them figure out their way out of this huge mess. Because every offender I've ever talked to, 99% of them feel like they're so burdened, and there's various issues, but they just can't get through it. So to a lesser extent, I think when you're stuck in the rat race, when you feel like you're not going anywhere, you've really, the number one thing to get past is yourself. But you've got to do it in a way that's really smart. So you've got to plan. What skills do I need? Is this definitely the path that I want to go down? Is it definitely? Why? Why is it? And when I say why do I want to do this? What are the things that I specifically will really enjoy about this job? Because there's no job that is perfect, you know, or role or business. There's always stress in everything you do. And what is my actual reason inside myself that is going to, the powerful reason why, that is going to keep me going on days where the order that I thought was coming in, they've now rung me and said they're not buying those goods, and I ordered it from someone else, and now I've got it sitting here on my bench and I can't sell the bastard. How am I going to pivot and turn that into another sale, or do something differently to protect my bottom line and keep me going? And why am I doing this? Because you are going to have days where you sit there and go, oh my God, this is a nightmare. But it's my nightmare, and I own it, and it's okay, because I can make the rules up as I go along, and as long as I'm not doing anything naughty, I'm allowed to that's the beauty of business. You're free. You're allowed to, you know, create it how you want. You don't have to go through all of the stupid basketball hoops of exhausting.
No. And there's no ceiling on you.
Yeah, there's no ceiling.
Whatever you decide to put on yourself. So, and I agree with you, the why is extremely important, especially if you're going to go down that entrepreneurial pathway, because it has to drive you enough that it'll help you get over those big boulders that are there. It'll help you move through that self-doubt and the limiting beliefs that are actually there. So your why is exceptionally important. It is important in a career as well, but it doesn't have to be as big, because I think in the entrepreneurial space, it needs to be big enough to drive you and to inspire you to do the things that you need to do every day to get past the fear. But in a workplace, the why could be as simple as, well, where do you want to be within 3 to 5 years' time in your career? What does that look like?
You're going to be up the ladder.
Is where you are at the moment. It may not even be corporate ladder. It could be moving sideways. It could be a totally different career path. But it's the where is it that you see yourself, that you want to be, and where you currently are, do you see a pathway to that? And if you don't see a pathway to that, what do you need to do to pivot? To move down another pathway, or what skills do you need to develop? Do you need to go do some courses? Do you whatever the case may be, but have a look at it and go, where do I want to be in 3 to 5 years' time?
Because otherwise
from an entrepreneurial perspective, yes, you can still have that 3 to 5 year plan, but it's more to do with what is the big reason, the big why of you wanting to drive your business, of you, do you want to make an impact on the planet? Do you want to make an impact in your community? What is it that is going to drive you to get past your own fears and doubts?
And you do that by really, again, sitting down with yourself and listening to your authentic self, getting in touch with that, going, I know that when I did my previous business, my number one overly arching, I suppose, my passion was I wanted to be free. I just wanted to be free. I didn't, my product was good. I liked working with the people that I worked with. I wasn't particularly enamored by the industry itself, but it was all about financial freedom for me. I wanted to be home with my children. I wanted to raise my children and live in my nice home and do the things and give them the things that I wanted them to have. Because for me, back then, I saw financial security as a way to buy stability and freedom for my kids, which is still true. But for a great extent, that was a bit of a, when I look back, I can see that it was not a very, it's better to have a multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
So it's nice to make money, but it's also really nice to do something, like you said, that makes your heart sing, that actually makes you feel like you're giving back to your community, making a difference. Hopefully you're inspiring or encouraging some people around you.
Yeah. Providing some service that's actually making an impact, a positive impact in society.
So you're productive in some way that feels good for you. And that could be anything. It could be being an amazing artist like my friend Tammy, or it could be, counseling or whatever it is that you want to do with yourself. I mean, some people choose to become more skilled or do a business so that they can work less hours because they get paid so much more. And then they
have more freedom to do the other things they want to do. And it's interesting because through coaching, I've had a lot of clients who, when I have spoken to them about whether it's career transition or moving into businesses for themselves or what have you, what is it that they want to do? What is that why? And a lot of it does come back to freedom. But you've got to break it down even more and go, what does freedom mean for you?
What does freedom look like?
What does that actually encompass? Is it financial freedom? Because that's one element. And if it is financial freedom, how much? What does that look like? And also, what will that financial freedom give you? What will it provide you? Will it free up time for you as well? Is it something that you want to go, you regularly want to go exploring the world or things like that, or experiencing new cultures? Or is it that you want to, buy new houses and buy multiple investment properties? What does that look like? So don't just get caught on well, I want to be free. What does free mean? And really delve into that, really work on that and break it down of what freedom actually means for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that can turn into a really strong why when you do that. And even when we talk about making an impact, well, what is the impact? What's the impact that you want to make? What does that look like? What does it feel like when you're making an impact? What are the conversations you're having with people? What's your product doing? What's the product that you're talking about creating, or the service that you're talking about creating? How will that improve people's lives or the lives of society?
And how will you feel when you see that? How will you feel when you see that? I mean, I can think of times when I've actually seen the light bulb turn on in people's head and they've gone, oh, yeah, I'm going to go and do this. And I'm like, awesome. And then they've come back and gone, I went and did this. I'm feeling really good about myself. Look at my life go. And I'm like, woo, best feeling in the world. That's the best feeling in the world when you see that. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's amazing. So that's a powerful thing for me. And I know that's for you too. But some people, my husband absolutely loves physics and chemistry. He loves seeing all those maths come together. Boring, but good for him.
Well, he likes it, doesn't it? It makes his heart That's the whole thing. So it's not boring for him, but it's boring for you. So
and that's the other thing. I think a lot of people get really daunted and go, there's only so much room at the top. There's only so many small businesses or entrepreneurs we need in the world. That's not true.
No, there's always a need somewhere. And that's the thing. It's looking at what is the need, what's society's need at the moment, and what can you do to actually feel that need? And you're not feeling it 100%. You may be just feeling a component of that need, but what is that need?
Yeah.
and then
what have you got that
that
is special? Like, and we're all different. You can have two people that are doing the exact same job, and they are both good at their job in their own way, and they'll give completely different approach, completely different results.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we get really caught up on, because we're bombarded by everything on social media these days. People give up before they start. They go, oh, there's no point me doing it. There's better people out there. There's 10-year-olds that are influencers that are making a shit ton of money because they're opening boxes in front of other kids. Now, if they can make millions, I'm sure most people can think of some sort of talent or something that they can do.
Yeah. And how can you bring that to the table? How can you turn that into a business? Or it could be as simple as you're happy in your job, in the sense of, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Happy to just keep in that rat race type of thing, but I'll do something outside of work that actually brings me my passion. It ignites my soul, and that's okay. Yes. As long as your soul's getting ignited somewhere
doing something.
But there are a lot of
people don't see it as a rat race. Some people absolutely love coming into work every day to have a chit chat with their mates and do all the stuff. And I know some people found COVID horrifying. They couldn't stand it. They felt so isolated.
Yeah, some people are like that, absolutely. Yeah. And so I know for myself, I couldn't do the rat race, not because of the corporate world in particular, I have an entrepreneurial mindset. I have a strategic mindset, and so for me, it felt like it was just making me shrink. Yeah,
same. I
just felt really small, and I felt that I could do more, and I just kept feeling this pull within inside of me to go and do something else, but I just couldn't figure out exactly what it was. I knew that I wanted to work for myself, but I could not figure out what that was. And so it was really important for me to get clear. And one of the things that I actually did was I reached out to a few mates and kind of like close friends and a couple of close colleagues as well, and sent them off 5 questions, asking them, the premise of the questions were, what do you guys normally come to me for?
Yep.
What am I really good at doing? Mm-hmm. If you've got a problem, do you come to me for a problem? Or if it's advice, what is that type of advice?
Yep.
And so it's getting really clear on what is it that people come to you for all the time.
Yeah. What are you good at? What do people perceive you to be good at?
Yeah. And it's not even what it's what they see you good at or what they come to you all the time for. And the fascinating thing for me was it was always people were coming to me for either professional or career advice or personal growth advice, like life advice.
Yep.
And that was an area that I loved anyway in the career, because if I looked at my corporate career, one of the things that I really, really enjoyed was mentoring people and coaching people. And then I went, well, hold on. That's an area that I love. I love guiding and I love coaching and I love that. So why don't I start to look down that path, and how can I turn that into more impactful, globally, that type of thing. So it's really getting quite clear on what that is, and realizing when you do go to people and ask them that, and then you see the commonalities that come back, you go, oh, isn't that interesting?
Isn't it interesting? Very affirming doing that exercise, because when 5 of your mates or 5 people that you know come out with the same thing, you go, oh, amazing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me. They all came back with the same thing, just in slightly different language, but they all came back in the same thing.
Yeah.
And that was a bit like, well, that's what I thought. I thought that's the path, and
it's good to double check.
That's where it should be. And the other thing that I would recommend that you do is have a look at your strengths. Do a strengths survey. So online there is a organisation called the VIA Character Strengths Survey. Check them out. They do a free survey, and you can also do a more detailed survey or a more detailed report, but it actually goes into the top 20, I think it's 24 strengths. Is that correct? You've done it recently.
21, maybe 21 or
21, 24, something like that. So it goes through all the strengths that you have, and that everybody has. Everybody's got usually the same strengths, but they do them in an order of priority based on your survey output. And it is amazing how well I found it to be actually quite accurate.
I was blown away.
Its response.
I was like, oh, wow, they nailed it. But it was also great because it was, you have these thoughts in your head. We all do. Oh, I think I'm, big on honesty, and I think I'm big on justice and all these kinds of things. And then when you see it written out in front of you, you're like, holy shit, okay, yeah, now I get it. I really get that. Yeah, it's great. It was a really
and so
great
that helps you, when you look at those strengths, and
Yeah.
especially when you look at your top 10 strengths, and you go, okay, well, how can I build something around that?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm really good at.
And that's part of that, getting to know yourself, really having that honest, genuine appraisal of yourself as well. I've also asked people about my weaknesses as well. And I think that's really important. And I think what you were saying before, getting back to you know that you need to change because you just keep going into workplaces, you keep feeling the same way, going, oh my God, I'm here for a bit. And then I'm like, oh, it's so boring. I just had enough. I find, or what I've found, is that I think I've shifted so much in myself that I've become repellent to those kinds of places that don't fit me.
Yeah.
I've just gotten to the point where I'm almost like, it's like a magnetic repel. Like those places just don't work out for me. The last place I worked at, I resigned, that I resigned from. I actually just said to the guy, he was being a complete dick, and I thought, I can't work for you. I just can't work for you. And I just thought, I looked at him, and all the shit he was coming out with, and I was like, fuck, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. Like, I don't hate you or anything, but I'm not even bother. And I just said to him, you know what the problem is? And he was like, it's clearly all you. I was like, the problem is that I'm an entrepreneur and I'm not an employee, and I'm trying to force myself to be an employee, and I don't fit this box. And I never did. But it took a long time. It took 6 years of flogging myself in other places to kind of get to that realization that it doesn't actually work for me. I mean, sure, there's some good workplaces where I can stay and work, but ultimately it's not what makes my heart sing. It's not what I dream of,
No.
And that's once you start doing that work, you shift.
Well, I think the other element as well is that when you do start to, say, upskill yourself or do some personal growth work on yourself, and you're starting to become, more, I suppose, working from that space of your authentic self and coming from that place, that there are certain things, like we were speaking about before, you can outgrow relationships, you can outgrow partnerships, you can also outgrow jobs and, careers.
Yeah.
So it's really just looking at it going, maybe it's as simple as that. Yep, you're an entrepreneur, but also you just outgrew it. You just went, this isn't for me anymore.
Just not me.
It doesn't align with me anymore.
And also, looking at the way things are done, it just doesn't align with my own personal integrity, and I'm never going to change that organization, so we'll just move on.
Yeah, exactly. And then you end up finding that you'll jump into something else, as in from a corporate perspective. You go, okay, I'll go work for another organization because it could be the environment, because I do like the job, the role itself is fine. I'll go to another environment, but you're still finding a similar thing is going on, because it's not just that you're dealing with other people, but as I said, you've actually outgrown the corporate arena. And it's really important to recognize when you have outgrown something that it's time to move on. And then that's when you have to look at, well, I've got to recreate myself.
But I just would say, though, traditionally, what I find that's really interesting is that when you do outgrow that space, the way that it manifests itself is that the people that are in management things start to look at you, or other people like, oh, you're such a, why do you have to be different? Why do you think like that? Why are you so weird? Why can't you think like everyone else? That's really, you're a problem. You
need to fit back in the box. Get back in the box.
Get back in your box. Why are you like that? And so I think that a lot of people get to that point and then they go, oh shit, I had better get back in my box.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to go, I don't like it. I'm not getting back in that box. It's really uncomfortable, and I'm actually going to get out here and sprout my wings and maybe some little horns. Whatever happens, I'm good. I'm with it. I'm going with it. I'm happy.
And I think it's important, when we talk about what happens in nature, when you look at nature and Mother Nature, like if you look at birds, for instance, they will have their chicks in the nest with them for a certain period of time, and then they start kicking them out, going, come on, flap your wings, get out there. Come on, I don't want you here anymore. Flap your wings.
That's it. Get going.
And we don't do that. We may say to our kids, you're now 18 or 21, get out of the house and go experience life. But we don't do that with ourselves, where we go, come on, you've got to get out of this nest, this comfort zone, and start to really flap your wings and see what life has for you when you start exploring it and really, really giving it your 100%, Yeah,
my God, because you don't want to go, you've got a limited time. I think the older I get, the more I realize that your lifetime is a drop in the ocean. You blink and it's done.
It is.
if you're spending 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week doing something you fucking hate, surrounded by people that you think are knobs.
Yep.
No, that's
well, you
not
think
a life.
about it. You've got your B day, which is your birthday, and then you've got your D day, which is, well, the day you die. And life really is the dash in between.
Yeah.
And it is exactly that. It's a dash. And it goes by that quick.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And once you have kids, you look at them and you think, shit, you're in nappies yesterday. And I think it speeds up.
Yeah, as you get older, it does. It feels like it just goes. Yeah. And that's why I think you get this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
You know, there's a sense of urgency that I've got to get out there and do something. And that would be the other thing that I would say. If you are looking at wanting to go down the entrepreneurial pathway, have a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
You've got to have a sense of urgency. If you just sit back and go, oh, it'll be right, mate, I'll just take my time with it. You don't know when these things are going to change. You don't know what life is going to throw at you tomorrow.
You get hit by a bus. Yeah,
exactly.
You just don't know.
It's like, just get out there and have that sense of urgency and do it. Just do it. Have it. And it's not even having the courage. A little bit of it is, like you're on the cliff face and you've got to take that step of faith to hop out, but you've got to be caught, and it's all going to be fine. But the person you've got to have the biggest faith in is in yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. You've got to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and have faith in yourself that you have the talent, you have the skills, you have the audacity to even get out there and do this.
I love audacity. I had so much audacity when I was younger, and I got older, and it was weird because going into workplaces kicked the shit out of that, which was I was astounded. And it's been a really interesting journey coming from working for myself for 15 years and working in an innovative space to going into a workplace that's very highly governed and very structured. And then I've watched people's dreams come there to die. And there's some sort of, and I hate to say it, but workplaces are structured like that because they want you to come in, take a normal amount of money, make them a shitload of money, and take your little bit, just enough for you to live on, and maybe go on a holiday and afford a few nice things, whilst they're sitting pretty and getting all the big dollars. And that's
you've got to conform. Totally,
you've got to conform. You've got to conform. And some people enjoy conforming. Good on them. I'm really glad that we've got people like you out there, because if we didn't, the place would fall apart. But there's a bunch of us that don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's 1/3 of people, or something, I read something, sort of naturally think like an entrepreneur and really have the capacity to do it. And I'm not saying that means that there's only 1/3 of people that can become entrepreneurs, because anyone can do it if they're smart.
Yeah, you can learn. It's a skill you can learn.
Yeah, but you've got to do it in a smart way. And it's a tricky balancing act. So half of you wants to go, I'll take a leap out in faith. The universe will reach out to catch me. I'm getting all of these cosmic signs. I know that I don't fit in workplaces. I'm, really working on that instinctive, that's that entrepreneurial spirit. And the other half of you is like, right, I've still got bills to pay. I still have to be performing in my job whilst I'm making all my moves. So be half head, half heart. If you want to do this stuff.
Yeah. Because you will hit it. If you make that decision to step down the entrepreneurial pathway, you will absolutely hit that point when you first start out. And it may even be for the first 12 months. I know for me it was the first 12 months, because I got into the habit of going to a job every day for 7 or 8 years, when I went back into the workforce after my previous business, and going, I'm back in here, I'm doing this. And you just get into the habit of doing that every single day. And then know that at the end of the fortnight or the month, you're going to get paid. That pay's guaranteed. There's no changes to it. It just keeps coming in. So you know that's there. So there's that safety net that that's there.
Yeah.
And when you step into going out for yourself, even if you have actually got the money behind you, that you put the money behind you in order for you to be able to step out on your own, you still have to break that habit of going, don't need to go to a job.
No,
you're not going to get a pay in the next fortnight or the next month, and you've got to get really used to that and get comfortable with that.
Yes. Because not lay in bed of a morning going, what do I do next? You got to have a plan.
Exactly right.
You've got to
get comfortable with the fact that, yes, you're doing a different thing. You're working for yourself, but that doesn't mean you become lazy and you sit on the couch for half the day. But the other aspect of it is, as I said, you'll have these doubts and fears come into your mind about, but I'm not making any money, but this isn't happening, but this isn't happening, but that's not happening. It's not happening fast enough, and all those types of things, because you're so used to working for somebody else.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that pattern of behavior and those habitual thoughts that go with that, they need to actually go, and you may go through a bit of a grieving phase with it as well.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Because, you've gone from, especially if you've got good people at work that you really enjoy seeing on a daily basis, which, is pretty common. I mean, the other thing is you got to remember it's all about balance. So whilst you have to commit to it and figure out how you're going to move forward, you've got to also remember, I know when I was on the New Inventors in 2007, and it was funny because they give you a little handler backstage at the green room, and they said something to me like, it's nice to see an inventor that's actually making money. I said, what are you talking about? And they said, do you know how many people bring inventions on the show and they have taken them to market and they've proven that they're not what the market wants, but they fall in love with their invention. So they just keep pumping money into it. Guys, were selling their houses because they were like, if we can just go harder, like we can make this happen. So the key is, if what it is that you're doing is not selling, tweak it.
Yes.
I just keep repeating the same stuff. When I was inventing my mirrors for the mining trucks, I made 25 changes in the first probably 3 to 6 months. Rio Tinto said, we need these changes done to make this mirror more efficient. I went, okay.
Yeah.
Don't be in love with your idea or whatever your business is.
To be in love with your why. You can absolutely be in love with your why and the changes and impacts. But yes, you've got to take the emotion out of the daily activities of your business and the service or what have you that you're selling, because it does have to be tweaked. You've got to treat it like an experiment.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Totally treat it like an experiment.
Yeah. So that's another thing.
Is this working? No, it's not working. What do I need to tweak? And you don't need to go, I've got to tweak it 90%. You just tweak it by 1%. What changes happen?
Exactly, because that's another mistake that gets made. People go, all right, well, that's it. I'm going to throw it all in, or I'm going to change the whole thing. No, 1 or 2%. Just make a little change, because if generally you're on track, you're just not getting the exact results you want. You've only got to just figure it out until you get it on target.
Slightly tweak it. Yeah. Absolutely. And if it goes back to what you were saying, where some of the inventors were, they did the market research and things like that, and they showed that there wasn't a need for the product.
Yep.
Well, then I'd ask you why. You've got to, if there's no need, then what do you need to do to change that invention to turn it into a need? Because if there's no need, people aren't going to buy it. Yeah. So you've got to look at whether it's your services or your products or what have you. Yep. Is there a need in the market for it?
Yeah. Or
do your research beforehand and make sure that there is a need. And it's not that you need, it's not that you need your need. it's not that, you have to sell to the entire planet.
No. Figure out.
You only need 1% of the market as well. Not even that sometimes. Sometimes it's 0.5% of the market. Yeah. You only need a small percentage of the world population to buy your stuff.
Yeah, just make sure that you're properly positioned. Make sure you're properly positioned. Make sure that
understand your niche, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
All goes back to that.
And be ruthlessly honest with yourself is the other thing, and that's the other trap you can fall into, is that you're so in love with what you're doing, you're so excited about running your own business and being a little CEO or whatever it is, that you can lose focus on. Sometimes you can believe your own press. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. That's the way to disaster.
Why would you say it's the way to disaster? Do you want to explain a little bit more?
Well, it's nice to take the wins. It's nice to. So I remember I got given an award for the Hunter Valley Innovation Award in 2007 or something. I was on the New Inventors. I got the award, and then I was I was invited to a mining conference in Sydney with a large company that I won't name that supplied the whole world, and they were really interested in buying my mirrors and getting my design going and forming some sort of partnership with me. But then they did the market research, and I met up with them in Sydney. They went away and did the market research and said, for the size of the worldwide organisation we are, although we can see that your mirrors are a great fit for you as a small business, there's just not going to be enough supply and demand for us, considering that we're making these things, 500,000 of them at a time in a factory in Germany or whatever it was. So that for us is not going to be workable in our business model. So don't believe, I was coming down from all the highs of all the nice things that had happened, and I was going, I think I'm going to have a massive, I might be able to stop trying to flog these mirrors and, let this company just buy me out and move on. didn't happen that way, because when they crunched the numbers, it all looked good on the surface, but they double checked it for their business model, their shape, and the way they were set up. It didn't work for them. Worked beautifully for me as a small competitor. Again,
but not for them. Yeah.
So if you believe your own press and you go, oh yeah, I'm like the inventor and I've won the innovation award for the year and I'm going to meet with this big multinational and da 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 da. So until that contract is signed and until you're making those sales, it's all a bit of fluff.
It is all a bit of fluff, and it can be a distraction as well. It can take you away from what you actually really need to be focusing on. So yeah.
It can be a disappointment, and you can either take those disappointments, and this is another thing for entrepreneurs, you can either take that disappointment and go, oh, shit, and just wallow in misery and go, oh, I'm just going to have to work. Or you can go, right, which is what I did, and said, okay, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I'm moving on. What's next? Yeah. I'm going to really lick this thing, and that was what I did. And that's how you got to be. You got to be super resilient as an entrepreneur, because I think in organizations, if you cock up, or you're not feeling particularly good today, that's okay, because Sally and Freddie and Johnny are all in there and they can answer the phones if you're feeling a bit shitty today. It doesn't happen that way as an entrepreneur. If you're feeling shitty, you turn up.
You turn up regardless. Yeah. And you wear all the hats initially as well. So, until you start growing, you wear all the hats. So you've got to do some of the jobs that you don't like doing, and then you've got to also do the jobs that you absolutely love doing.
Yeah,
you wear all the hats.
You do.
So
you wear
expect that too. We've actually spoken. It's interesting. So this conversation's gone down more of the entrepreneurial path than any form of career transition. So that's really cool. So we can do another session on the career transition and how to set yourself up for that, and how to plan for that as well. If you're looking at, from an entrepreneurial perspective, how do I get started? Even from a career transition perspective, we do have a career pathways step-by-step guide on our website. It's a free tool. Go check that out at theartofbeautifulthinking.com.au/free resources. Go check it out, and you'll see that there are a number of different guides we've got there, but we've got specifically one around doing that career transition step by step. And that really does also go into the entrepreneurial part as well.
Yeah, because the rat race is hell for some of us. The rat race is hell. And why would you spend your whole life just, running from one hellscape to another? Why? Not worth it.
No more.
A limited amount of time. Make it count. And it is better to try and fail than not try at all, because you'll always be wondering.
I would prefer to fail at this than to, at my own business, than to regret not giving it a go in the first place.
Yep. I'm not going to be sitting up there in the peanut gallery going, oh my God, this is awful. And, people will say to you, oh, I had an in-law say to me, oh, the mine's no place for a lady. And I was like, well, I'm not a lady then, isn't it? Last time I checked, I haven't got.
What's a lady got to do with anything anyway?
Yeah, I don't care.
Sorry
about that. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm wearing steel cat boots. Look out.
Yeah. So I suppose the last part of it is, think about that thing, that if tomorrow was your last day on the planet, what is it that you would like to actually do? Well, in fact, tomorrow's probably not, enough time. Give yourself 2 years. So, what is it that you would like to actually experience? What is it that you would like to give back? What is it that would make your heart sing? Something that you've probably always wanted to do, but you've always put it on the back burner. Just have a think about that, and then go and check out that step-by-step guide that I was speaking about, and have a look at what you need to do to get started.
Yeah.
And then take those steps.
That step-by-step guide is amazing. It's such an amazing resource. The other good thing, sometimes if you really feel like challenging yourself, and this is a bit dark, you can just sit down and write your gravestone. What did you do? Write that and read it.
What are people saying about you at your funeral?
What did you do in this life? And then read that and go, yep, I'm really proud of that, or, oh,
I need to pivot.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've had anything that has stood out for you from today's episode, we'd love to hear your comments. Please come and join us on our Facebook community page. We would absolutely love to get any suggestions that you have, or recommendations for future episodes as well, because that's going to help you grow and it's going to help us grow as well. And please subscribe.
Yeah.
Could always do with more subscribers and more followers, because that's just going to be able to help us spread out that reach and being able to ignite the spark in people. So remember to basically think beautifully and live brilliantly. Until next time, guys, take care.
Bye.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.